After Powercast time. It's going to be the last Friday show for the foreseeable future because, as I've stated before, work schedule has changed. So make sure if you want to join us live going forward, ring that bell because Saturdays and Sundays going to be the landing zone for the show going forward for at least a little bit. I'm working on it. Hopefully we can get it back to Fridays because Fridays is a good spot for both of us, but we're going to make it work going forward. But Tyler, first things first, let's go ahead. Let's get this out of the way because this will probably come up in the questions later on. This is posted on social media. This photo has been brightened up because there was a darker version of this posted online. Get some laughs here, but here's our look. Here's the look. Look, I don't want. We won't get on the same thing. Of those of you that have watched the show for eons now and have been here with us, first, thanks, and secondly, you kind of know how we're gonna feel about this. I am in the camp of I'm gonna watch it. I know Tyler's gonna roll his eyes. I'm gonna watch it. That just whatever. My expectations for it are nothing. If I can take bits and pieces of it and be like, all right, that was okay, fine. I know Tyler's not going to watch it, doesn't want to, doesn't care, and that's totally cool too. And if there those of you out there are super stoked, saw that image, and you're like, hell yeah, it's He-Man, good on you. But I just wanted to show that just so everyone sees it, and it's out there, and it is what it is. There's no expectation here. It's going according to plan of how I thought it would go. I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like, yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's more shitty cosplay in the world's smallest He-Man. Like, they couldn't have picked a more smaller, petite guy, and the Power Source bigger than he is. I mean, he is just fuck him and everyone else involved.
All right,
there's my 2 cents. Everyone else enjoy.
I just wanted to get that out there. Man,
God, everything just looks like cheap cosplay anymore. Like no one with anything and everything.
I mean, I agree with you. We've talked about this plenty of times on plenty of other shows that the current state of Hollywood is just this thing worked. Let's take it. Let's run it into the ground. I think I saw an article because Ryan Coogler's Sinners did so well, and rightfully so, because it's a great movie, but Warner Brothers, we have to have a sequel. And Coogler's like, no, that was one and done. I'm done with it. So they'll probably somehow make a sequel. But that's sad. And I know that a lot of people will be, back in the day, they made sequels to everything. Yeah, you're right. And I wish I could tell you what I feel was different back then, in my opinion, to what it is now. But I guess the truth is there's not much difference to it because it's all putting a sequel out there in the terms of this did well. We need more of this, more money with gradual diminishing returns. Because I can imagine, like Tyler and I love Friday the 13th Part 8, right? Most of that stems from that one being one of the first ones that you and I watched when we were younger and realized, oh, maybe this isn't so scary. But I can imagine back then when it came out and you see that in reviews, and I'm sure when people went and saw it, they're like, this sucks. So I don't think there's that much difference between back then and now, but it does feel like worlds apart to me. I don't know if you have like the same opinion on that, or if you do kind of have an answer why you feel like sequels back then were different than what they do sequel-wise now.
I just feel like back then, and this goes back in the 90s and 80s and further back, and yeah, you can bring up a ton of examples where the studios played it safe with a sequel, but I often felt like they were willing to take more chances and be a little bit more ambitious, even if it was a tighter budget. Like, I this is an example of I guess, it's been brought up so many times, but I think about how Aliens, like, they wanted to do a sequel after the first one came out immediately. It didn't happen. Changed it. The studios were rotating, and I don't want to do Aliens. I don't want to do Aliens. How about Aliens? And like, well, we're going to give you a lower budget, but it's a more ambitious script. And it's like, okay, well, we'll take a chance on this guy who's only done one reputable movie. He's young. I mean, it's just one minor example of, But then I look at Ghostbusters 2. People wanted a sequel immediately. The head of the studio didn't want to do it, and then when he was thrown out, they brought it back. And some people maybe felt like it waited too long for Ghostbusters 2 to come out. They didn't do anything different. Well, there's a lot of sequels that pretty much repeat the same beats of the first film. Terminator 2 is one of them. Addams Family Values, Wayne's World 2, like all enjoyable sequels, but they repeat the beats of the same film.
Maybe the biggest difference is back then, in between all these sequels and these big tentpole films, you still had studios taking chances on oddball stuff.
Yeah.
And I think now it's just too much of this.
They're scared to death.
It's got to be big. Yeah.
I
maybe that's the big difference.
Not just because I like the movie, but Howard the Duck. The fact that Universal in 1986, I mean, they greenlit it. They pushed it to the moon in terms of they had like a lot of advertising for it and marketing. It was a flop, but just thinking they were willing to take a chance on a, lesser known Marvel comic book character. As opposed to can we get one of the more flagship characters like Spider-Man, Captain America, the Hulk? They went with Howard the Duck, and Marvel has not done that, and they've continued to play it safe, and probably will continue to play it safe well past Fantastic Four and anything else that comes after that. I'm sure Avengers Doomsday will be one of the safest movies in the world, relying strictly on look at this character. This guy came back to play this character, and everyone will be completely oblivious that they're playing it safe with just glorified cameos for 2 hours.
Yeah, but I guess in my mind, I'm just thinking of stuff like UHF, Problem Child, just weird, different films with familiar themes.
But those are two prime examples. Like, even though UHF was a bomb, it has become a massive cult classic. But that and like Problem Child, that's a family movie that is raunchy as it possibly could get away with the rating that it had. They would never, again, another prime, and the sequel was just as raunchy, if not more raunchy.
Yeah.
In terms of the language, the gags in the movie, the kind of humor that went over kids' heads. A studio today would never make a children's film or a family film with that much sexual undertones and vomiting gags and poop gags and a foul-mouthed kid and not doing it just because he's just being a bratty kid, not like, hey, this is funny, I'm saying the word fuck or something like that. I feel like, those are two great examples of willing to take chances on stuff,
And not only that, but just different genres too.
Every genre. And
when you think of the 90s, you get those like sexy thriller films.
Yeah,
you don't get as much
of came out. No,
you don't get much of that stuff anymore.
They're scared of erotic thrillers. They're scared of
like, what was that Don Johnson movie that we both watched?
The Hot Spot.
Yeah, man.
That would never in a million years that would never get made today. Yeah. I feel like what few movies that are I haven't sought them out. I just want to hear about them.
Actually, let's backtrack on that. Movies like that still get made, but they don't get the big.
The marketing is nowhere. It's not there. No.
Yeah, so it's like, if you want to seek out stuff like that, you kind of have to dig a little bit more than what you're seeing that's going to show up at your local theater.
Well, and back then too, major stars, whether they were out of movies or in movies, were signing up for those kind of films. We don't have movie stars anymore.
Yeah, that's true too.
We have a bunch of TikTok celebrities and YouTube sensations. They're no longer movie stars. At least we have movie stars. They just don't have the credentials and merit that they used to when we were growing up.
And then it just kind of boils down to attention spans have shortened as well. It's like I can't see many there was an article that said teenagers were kind of digging like longer movies, but I feel like for the most part, people don't want to sit down and watch 3-hour movies, which I understand because we're both kind of the same way. I look at run times because a lot of those are bloated. I'm like, I don't need a superhero movie to be 2.5 hours long. Like, you can keep it 100 to 120 minutes. We don't need to go beyond that point.
I don't know. I mean, back then too, they wanted films trimmed down so you get multiple showings in a day.
Yeah.
They want it to be hour and a half or just under 2 hours. You can get 4 or 5 screenings a day as opposed to, we got 3 a day because it's a 2.5 3 hour movie. And back then, it was only like Oscar movies that or dramas that were going to be nominated for Oscars that were like 3 hours long. You know?
And they would have intermissions.
Say if they had brought those back,
Mm-hmm.
but even then, there's at this day and age, there's
it's an idea though. I think an intermission's a great idea for those longer movies because it gives people an opportunity, especially like when we're doing the show. You're like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and sometimes I do too. So intermissions probably be a good thing.
I agree. I wish they'd bring their back, but I also wish they would play Three Stooges and Looney Tunes before a movie too, instead of playing like a bunch of infomercials for the theater and product placement ads. I'm like, oh God.
And can we just cut down on the like 20-30 minutes worth of trailers before a movie too? Like I don't need that. Like all that stuff gets posted on the internet. I don't need to see that on the big screen.
No, anymore. And I mean, it used to be a big deal.
Used to, but not anymore because it's on the internet. Like I watched it's coming out in August, that Toxic Avenger movie. I'm like, you know what? This actually looks pretty fun. So it's been shelved for 2 years now, but they're finally going to put it out in theaters. So hopefully people will go and support something like that because it does look pretty stupid. And
I had no idea that even put out a trailer because I'd forgotten. I remember hearing about it, like that they were going to do a new one and or like a remake of it.
Yeah.
And I'll have to look that up when we're done time before I go to bed.
Yeah. Well, we will move on from movie talk because this is what spurred the whole thing. I wasn't even thinking like the sword is almost as big as he is.
That looks like a giant prop that someone carries around at San Diego. And he's extremely small. Like, I'm sorry, people.
I think if I were standing next to him in person, he would look pretty solid. But it's not. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like he's just like I know that with it's just being cheap. I mean, when you hire Jared Leto again to play like the pivotal role in your movie,
which those allegations are coming out on him now, so I don't know what that's going to do either.
Well, hopefully that just means the movie will crash and burn, and Amazon will just throw it on the back burner like Warner Brothers has done with so much stuff, and people might start to realize that that 87 movie we've all been trying to destroy and make fun of for almost about 40 years. It's actually a lot better than I thought.
I still stand by the fact that I think Alan Richardson should have played He-Man in this film. He's a dude in Reacher. I was trying to find a decent photo to show where he's not just like wearing underwear, which I guess would have been appropriate.
Mike O'Hearn would have been a good He-Man, I think.
Who?
Mike O'Hearn. He's a bodybuilding personality. He was in like the new.
You're talking about the dude from Battle Dome?
No, he was in American Gladiators, like the relaunch that sucked.
You sure he wasn't also in Battle Dome?
Maybe he was. I never watched Battle Dome, but I know him as Titan from American. But as he's gotten older, like he looked a lot like an on-screen He-Man.
Remember they had that crossover with WCW in their dying days, and it sucked.
Oh yeah, I have no memory.
Yeah, Terry Crews was on that show too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, I won't look up any more of that stuff. But point being, it's gonna turn out how we think it will. Once again, if you're looking forward to it and you enjoy it, good, thumbs up for you. We will move on now
to quality stuff,
and we will get to our Golden Book Spotlight, Secret of the Dragon's Egg, which was covered all the way back, Fans of Power episode 50 or 60 something. We've looked at a couple of pictures from this book when we did a character spotlight on Fisto, and I think when we did a character spotlight on Goatman. So those have been the instances, but this book has never been covered in recent years. And when I say Fans of Power episode 50 or 60, we're talking like
eons ago. The I'm trying to think of the right term, like the prehistoric era of the podcast.
Yeah, the pre-Eternia days.
There you go. Yeah, tied it in quite nicely there. But it's a fan favorite book, to say the least. The Earl Norm artwork is one of the biggest ass kickers of the Golden Book. Ass. I don't know what I was trying to say.
Ass.
Yeah, ass.
Bill Goldberg.
but it's a memorable piece. I have a lot of memories of checking this out at my library in elementary school. Um, it has a lot going for the cover, the story, the only appearance of Goatman. It's a fan favorite among of a lot of the Golden Books, and I dare say might be the most popular. Like I feel like I'm
Really?
sure every He-Man fan that has been a reader of those books may have one in particular, from the Sword of Skeletor to the Caverns of Fear to maybe Power in the Sky. But I feel like this would probably be the reigning champion of Golden Books. I mean, you got key characters and dragons and on this beautiful cover here that Earl did, and that's another thing that I wish children today would have at their disposal is people who would paint these amazing illustrations for kids.
Yeah.
You know, to think that Earl was obviously noticed for other various things, but his work on Conan, the Savage Sword of Conan magazine, does that. And I'm quite certain, I don't know for sure, but people at Mattel have just said, like, hey, can you do illustrations for He-Man? And I mean, the guy left some of the biggest illustrations, today will never be matched in terms of quality, the intensity for a children's book that you could go to your local department store or bookstore and find in the children's section
for $2.
For $2. I mean, it was just mind blowing, because I would look at the covers a lot as a child, and this one has got it all, man. It really does. It's beautiful. The poses are dynamic. Mm-hmm. The dragons look amazing. The cave, the atmosphere, and the title and Secret of the Dragon's Egg.
Did this come with a cassette or a record?
I don't think so. I think that was some of the earlier books, like Caverns of Fear, Sword of Skeletor. I think there were variations of that. But this was like, I kind of look at this as like the second tier of the Golden Books, whereas the first four was Caverns of Fear, Thief of Castle Grayskull, Sword of Skeletor, and the Trap. Mm-hmm. And then I look at this as almost like season 2 with Time Trouble, Dragon's Egg, Magic Mirrors, Power in the Sky.
We got a copy right here of 1985. So
yep, and that's because it's starting to bring in the kind of more current versions of, or current roster, like Fisto and Stridor, Whiplash. The 84 wave of characters start showing up, and a little bit of the 85 bunch as well, like Mossman, Cyclone will show up from time to time as well. But they're really, I mean, there's a couple of dozen the Golden Book series, but overall they were pretty well done stories, at least in terms of illustrations, basic, simple stories.
And if anything, the artwork in all of these, for the most part, is fantastic. So as a little kid, if you don't know how to read and you're just merely looking at the pictures, that in and of itself is good enough to tell the story.
And that's how I looked at it, because the first few that I had, I mean, even though there's minimal dialogue and words, on each page, I mean, it really emphasizes that the pictures are telling the story, because children from 2, 3, and 4, can't quite read yet, or if at all, and then you can still, because I couldn't read until I got into first grade, so I had about 4 of these books that I just would have to look at the pictures and then rely on the Golden Book VHS tape that had the minimal animation in them. Yeah, and it's a shame this one wasn't involved with that one.
That's why I asked, because I looked it up ahead of time to see if I could find the audio recording, because I was actually going to ask you, if I did find it, if you wanted to implement that as we're going through and just pause it like page by page and talk about everything. But story by Jack C. Harris, illustrated by Luis Eduardo Barreto. Do you know anything about the artist?
Jack has written a couple of the books, and Battle Ram Blog has an interview with him.
Okay,
and talks about his time on there. So if you're interested in hearing more about Jack, you can read that interview there. Luis Eduardo he's illustrated a few of the books, and Time Trouble is one of them. He's right there, like him and Fred Carrillo did a lot of the stories, and Fred Carrillo does amazing work, but there is something about Eduardo's work, the way I don't know, I wish we could do like a comparison of the two because they're badass, but there's something a little bit more edgier and a little bit. There's just a little bit more intensity. I feel like with Luis's work on He-Man, just the way he draws He-Man, the intensity he puts in Skeletor's face. It's different than Fred Carrillo's, but different in a good way. I find it so hard to describe it. Once we get to some of the other characters, I'm not too fond of how he draws Whiplash. I think even though Whiplash looks good, I feel like Whiplash is not as beefy looking as he should. But it's a solid opening. Like he draws Stridor amazingly. Stridor, it's a great opening shot here of the Royal Palace and having this forest or maybe jungle kind of on the outskirts of the Royal Palace, that is kind of like this dirt path. That was always a cool thing about a lot of these stories, man. Like everyone has like a variation of what the Royal Palace would look like, the immediate surroundings of it, because there's no playset of it. All these guys are given are the toys, maybe some character profiles that were written up, like style guides and stuff like that, and this is all they had to go by. So everything else is just like, well, it's a royal. All right, well, I'll just come up with my own version of what the Royal Palace may look like. But
yeah, and that's pretty kick-ass that they get, at least in that regard, a little bit of free reign to sort of do what they want with it.
And that's something that in the interview with Jack is that he's Adam asked him, what were the parameters? Like, as long as he kind of followed like the basics of what the series is about, you kind of given a lot of free range, and he can knock out a story, relatively quickly. Just as long, like this one, I do know for a fact, like he was asked to include Fisto. I think it was the first one that he did. And it's like, we need you to include Fisto. And there's a discussion about Goatman. And he's like, I just gave Beastman this unnamed henchman, and the editor gave him the name Goatman. So there was no like, hey, we want you to create this possible, we have an idea for this character coming down the pipeline, like put him in the book. Like, no, it was just, and it just caught on, which was, we'll get to that in a little bit.
But Fisto shows up on Stridor to the Royal Palace, and he has the Dragon Box. It's his great treasure. And of course, Adam is sort of taken aback by it, did you say? And it's kind of odd to see here in the context of the text to think the way that it's written here that Adam would sort of stutter and say dragon.
I mean, really trying to emphasize anything to do with dragons. I need to get at, which is just him at this moment, just trying to find an excuse to leave and turn into He-Man.
I think there's some sweeping I must attend to. Well, see you later. Yeah. And I like how Fisto, because there's no key to the box, so he's just gonna
bash the hell out of it and use his his gimmick power to I don't need a key for this.
Yeah, so
the aggression in his face, like he looks, I mean, like he really means business. Like he's determined to get that thing open. Like, and that's kind of a fun thing to think about, that this has been a kind of a side journey for Fisto. Like he may have heard about this growing up as a kid. The legend of this dragon box, like it holds the location of the mysterious last dragon egg.
Yeah,
and just as like a side journey for himself, like to picture him and Stridor going on a variety of adventures, trying to find this, coming across maybe a variety of villains and just coming up short on various attempts to find it, but. This is what I'm talking about. I love the way he drew, like that Prince Adam pose there, the look in his face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just very dynamic with the poses that he gives He-Man and Prince Adam here. I think he does a phenomenal job with every character in this book.
Yeah. And you also had to take into consideration that this is a golden book. So by those standards, like this is definitely a cut above what you would get, I feel like, in other golden books from this era.
I will say, because I did have a few other golden books that were not He-Man related to, and I always enjoyed the artwork because it wasn't like they were sloppy and cheap looking. Like they tend to be with current golden books. It's just cheap. There's not a lot of effort put into it. I think people back then, I'm not gonna say they they cared more, because it was a job. It's not like everyone's like, I want to become the greatest golden book illustrator of all time.
But you I would feel that they would want to use that job to propel themselves to other projects that go beyond just kids' books.
Yeah, and I feel like just because it's a kid's book doesn't mean you have to kind of like phone it
half-ass
in.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, look at that. I'm just that, like I said, I love that one pose of Prince Adam there with his hand, like this, and
Well,
just
I mean, look too, like the way that the lines are drawn here to make it like you know the motion that's
yeah,
going on. It,
and the tone, the muscle definition in his arm, the maturity and definition in his face. It just
he's
he
so
adds,
vascular, right?
huh? Oh,
He's so
oh, Adam, you're so vascular. Can I feel your arms?
Johnny Ace sucks. All
Yeah,
right.
he does.
Anyway.
And He-Man enters the room, and did you say something about dragons? And I'm assuming that the box had the map in it because this map just
Yeah.
kind of shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that when he smashed the hell out of it, that there was a parchment inside there to show the locations or the 3 possible locations of the last dragon's egg.
Yeah.
And I love this little edition because I used it in a mini comic story that I wrote, the Spy Bat. It makes sense that for Skeletor to have, a variety of ways of spying on his enemies. But the Spy Bat, I just thought was a fun little creation here. And I would love to use it in, other stories as a means of, how could, Skeletor he always has his hover screen, and he has something else as we'll see here in a little bit too. But I just love the use of this little robotic bat. Look at this. Look at how awesome this grouping of Evil Warriors. And things like this, I was drawn to a large grouping of evil warriors all together, like Beastman, Merman, and the infamous Goatman, all looking in the pool. Because villains have always got to have a way of viewing their enemies, whether it's like a cauldron of some kind, like Mol-Mara has and Thundercats, and Skeletor has the hover screen, and now Skeletor has a cauldron, so to speak, a big pool. And it's always a fun way of seeing how villains, are spying on the heroes, and just seeing them all like they're just like drawn to this, like a dragon's egg. We could raise that dragon, be our weapon too. And they just, that intensity in Skeletor's face, I mean, that just looks so menacing there.
And Beastman looks really good too.
Beastman looks badass. Merman looks great. Like he's Filmation-esque.
He's pretty bulky too.
Yeah. And I love how Merman is drawn in this book. He's not in it a whole lot, but he's drawn very, he's got a lot of muscle to him. And I mean, that's why I love about the style here. Everyone looks fantastic. Like nobody doesn't look. And even and don't get me wrong, the way Whiplash is drawn here, it's not bad. And he looks good. He's more leaner. But I feel like Whiplash needs to be. I mean, Goatman is the biggest. I mean, look at him.
Yeah.
And I've thought about, like this may be like Goatman's. He's like the young guy. He's the new guy to the roster. Like he's just there. You're here to observe, follow Beastman's lead, and you'll work your way through the ranks. Like that's why I kind of feel like he doesn't speak. He's just observing. And I remember when I would write or attempt to write stories, I would always work him into the roster, but I could never get past the roster. I'd feel, okay, Whiplash and Too Bad and Goatman and Beastman, they're all here, and then I could never write the damn story.
There's still time, but as you said, Skeletor wants to find this egg so we can raise a baby dragon to be a powerful friend and a mighty flying mount as well. So.
Which is a cool idea for He-Man and the Heroic Wars to have a heroic dragon that would be at their beck and call as a loyal friend, much like Stridor and Battle Cat. And according to the map, there's 3 possible locations, so they're going to split up. And as Skeletor, observes this, he dispatches his evil warriors to these 3 locations in advance. So that way they're there to stop, Man-at-Arms, Fisto, and Teela and He-Man. And Whiplash is the first one to get dispatched to the Forbidden Caverns and is there waiting anxiously for Man-at-Arms. And that is such a cool pose for Whiplash. Perched on a rock hidden in the cave. Just waiting in anticipation to attack Man-at-Arms. And Man-at-Arms looks great here. Yeah, there's some great poses.
Yeah, and it's a great little fight scene here too.
Yeah, and what's cool is all these fight sequences are drawn up for a couple of pages. It's not like just a 1 page and it's over and done with. Like we get some nice panels of Whiplash, destroying stalactites I'm assuming stalactites. It's either stalactites or stalagmites. I can't remember from science class.
Just tons of rocks.
Just lots of pointy rocks, and Man-at-Arms is prepared and just starts, he's ready to start wailing with the mace and retaliates and knocks him right back at Whiplash. And Man-at-Arms realizes that the cave is empty. So, well, I got to get back to the others because I got to let them know Skeletor is on our trail here. And then this probably blew my mind more than anything else, seeing this epic battle sequence at a volcano, nonetheless, with Beastman and Goatman right there in all his glory, like, and two, like, getting this, like, what's his name? And you just see it written, at one point, he commands Goatman to attack Fisto, and like, oh, his name's Goatman, like, it's brilliant.
I mean, this is a great 2-pager too.
Oh, it's glorious with like the kind of green mist around the volcano there. And in the back behind Goatman, you see a variety of beasts and animals that Beastman is under control. And that was the cool thing that they would do in the Golden Books from time to time, is that would give him a small army of creatures to command, like something that was used sparingly in Filmation. He would command like, a creature to come out here and there, or command, some shadow beasts like in Prince Adam No More. But to see in the books here, like a wide variety of animals and creatures at his beck and call, like, it makes him more formidable.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more of that, where Beastman is, I mean, you could put him as the sole villain in a story because of what he can do. And I feel like, boy, there's the potential there, man. Like,
I mean, when you think about it, the way he's been portrayed elsewhere, it's a little underpowered and a little undervalued with what he's truly capable of.
And all people seem to focus on, he's the bumbling, henchman. Like, no, he's not. He becomes that in season 2, which if you're subscribed to James E Talks Hero Geek YouTube channel, you'll find out in the near future a little bit more about that.
Link down below,
but
in the description.
Yeah, but that's why I like to preach all the time. All these villains have got tons of potential. Like, to just, well, we got to paint them all as just they trip over their own shoestrings if they had any, all the time. Like, look at him. Like, this Beastman is so confident looking in his pose, and Goatman's going to follow his lead, and all these awesome creatures are ready to attack Fisto and Strider. Like, that's something I wish we got to see a little bit more of in this book. But unfortunately, pages are limited.
Yeah. You only get it's like 20 some pages. But I want to highlight this because you were trying to figure out which was which. Rebel Wookie, stalactites on ceiling, stalagmites on floor.
Okay, I was right the first time. So I appreciate you clarifying that, Rebel Wookie.
There you go. A little science lesson for everybody today.
And Beastman's wicked laugh echoed in the mountain. I have defeated you, he cried.
Yep.
And then commands Goatman to finish him off.
Yeah, that's where we get the Goatman name drop.
Yep.
When was the first time that you read this book or saw this book?
I think it would have been in, 5th grade, because I wandered over to what I thought was like the older kids section of the elementary school library, which most people didn't wander over towards.
Yeah.
And I just happened to look at random books that had hardcovers that had no spine, like no title on the spine. I pulled out one, and it was the Rock Warriors. Oh my God. And I kept looking around, and I came across Magic Mirror and Secret of the Dragon's Egg, and would check them out secretly because I didn't want the other kids to make fun of me for still being into He-Man. So I think this was
so silly to think that was a thing, because, all right, how old were you again?
Probably 10.
Oh, okay. A little old. All right. So I understand the hesitation there being.
I mean, this was around, the year before, like
Power Rangers.
Like 4th grade.
You couldn't tell anyone you were into Power Rangers.
No. And I mean, some of the, I guess the kids that were taught to be assholes at home, like, just thought, for whatever reason, Power Rangers was lame and stupid. I don't know why. I mean,
I don't know. We were in the same boat, man, because at that age, I too really liked Power Rangers, but was afraid to tell anyone. And it just seemed silly because being 9-10 years old, giant robots, giant creatures, martial arts, like, what's not to.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was all about sports. And if you didn't like, didn't watch baseball or football or whatever, like, it was considered, even though there were other kids that liked it, they were kind of more of the more nerdy kids, I guess you could say.
Right.
You know, I didn't have any kind of like identification as like a nerd or whatever. I was just kind of there. I was a space fellow, essentially.
Same.
So, but yeah, I was terrified, like, to let anyone know that I was, other than other kids, I was like, hey, you got any old He-Man figures you don't want? I'll trade you current toys for those. They were the only ones I knew. And even then, I didn't go into great detail about it. I just said I still like to collect and watch He-Man.
What a weird guy. Why does he want these old toys?
But they didn't question, like, hey, I'll take your new toys for this old stuff I don't play with. Like, it worked out better for me.
Right.
So I was like, here, man. So I think this was the third one that I checked out of those books, because I kept thinking, well, how many more books are here? And I checked this one out a lot because of who was featured in it, and Goatman was a big draw for me. I was fascinated by that character. It was so cool to learn years later on the He-Man.org forums that people liked Goatman. Like, there was nothing about him, you know, but he was such a cool looking, henchman that, I mean, he's a great visual, this demonic looking goat man, you know, his skin's red. He make a great adversary for Ram Man, you know, or just a brawler. He looks like just a cut and dry brawler, like someone who just would fist fight and did not have a special gimmick or anything like that. He just want to go in and beat the shit out of everybody.
There's a couple of loose classics Goatmans on eBay, $40 to $50 if anyone's interested.
I cannot stress it enough.
It's a great looking figure.
It is, and I wish Goatman would have been used more in the mythology.
I'm kind of surprised that we didn't get any more Goatman.
Yeah, and I guess too because it was just a random character in the book, and Mattel probably
maybe visually a little too strong for getting the blowback from the Master Universe's demonic stuff back in the 80s.
I think at this time too, like, they didn't afraid to, the early Golden books were not afraid to be a little bit more edgier and darker in terms of the content. Like, I mean, we're not talking awful stuff. I mean, like, there were some light and fluffy ones, like a Friend in Need, and a couple of others were a few does. But this is a little bit of more of an edgy story in terms of like how, and I give it full credit to like the way it's drawn.
Yeah,
you know, it's not light and fluffy. I mean, you can hear the sound effects of like Stridor's, rear cannon, like blasting the hell out of the various creatures that Beastman's commanding, and Fist are knocking the shit out of Goatman there. Like, just very dynamic poses that people seem to lack when it comes to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, man. These guys are out to beat the shit out of each other for our entertainment. Yeah. And you have to look at it like wrestling. You want to see the heels get over strong, and you want to see the baby faces make great comebacks and get over in the end. Yeah. And that's the good thing about He-Man. Like, all the heels, all the villains are fantastic. They just have to be written correctly and not used as just a doorstop.
But here in the story, you're led to believe that Beastman is taking control of Stridor, but what Beastman fails to realize is that Stridor is half machine and not affected by the power of Beastman. So he faked them out.
Which, I'd like to think, that may be the first time Beastman has come across Stridor, and that, maybe the spy bat, or maybe things that Skeletor has overlooked, and saying, like, all right, go after Fisto, who'll be riding his steed Stridor. Like, be aware of that. And Beastman probably being confident, thinking, oh, he's got a horse. This crazy steed. Well, I'll just take control of it. But then I have to wonder, like, what conversation took place for Fisto, like, tell Stridor, like, if Skeletor and his gang's out here, like, we may run into, Beastman or Clawful or Webstor. And just be aware. I'd like to think, too, that Fisto and Stridor have had a lot of conversations. They've been in a lot of battles. They talk a lot. That they have the same camaraderie that He-Man and Battle Cat have.
Yeah.
So I'd like to.
I could see that.
Yeah, and I just feel like, they've shared a lot of stories, been through a lot of shit together. And I could see Fisto, with Stridor being a newer creation, getting him acquainted with the world that they're going to be palling around together with. Be aware of this, and these are who you got to look out for. These are your allies. These are your enemies, and Stridor is a robotic horse, probably programmed with everything imaginable in terms of, like, radar. Just being aware, just a lot smarter than that we've really been able to explore with the character. So I'm rambling too damn
No,
much.
well, this next shot here, I was going to say, if these guys are in a hurry to get to the last location, you probably don't want to take the Dragon Walker.
And you know what? That's something that, as a kid, though, seeing the Dragon Walker, and that's the thing, is that as a kid, you're not thinking about how impractical the Dragon Walker is in terms of.
You're seeing this, and you're like, wait, you mean I can fit my Fisto and my Stridor and do this? I can have the Dragon Walker out here. I can bring my Roton out in the dirt and put Skeletor in it and recreate this story. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and just seeing like the Dragon Walker is just this giant tank that can get across any kind of crazy terrain, over cracks in the earth, that may be a little bit more difficult to jump or unsafe. And that's what the Dragon Walkers do. But of course, when you see it in action in Filmation or in the Golden Book VHS, it's like it's the most impractical thing in the world to use.
Yeah.
But as they realize there's the third location to go check out, and Skeletor sends Merman on ahead to retrieve what they think is the source of the dragon's egg. It's a crystal ball in the lake, where that's the location of the third location. And this giant sea creature, which looks amazing, emerges from the water to battle He-Man and Teela. And I love that previous shot too of Merman creeping out of the water.
Yeah,
and they're aware Merman's there, but he sent this Leviathan after us, and Skeletor's there to greet Merman to get the prize. And Merman just looks awesome there. I just love how he's drawn.
It's kind of like a Swamp Thing-esque.
Yes, very much so. And I love Filmation Merman, like with the blue skin, but something about like a mixture, like a combination of the toy version with the kind of aqua skin and the Filmation aspects, like the fin. Like I love how Merman is drawn there from the back side there. Like he just looks, I don't know, very imposing and menacing right there. When Skeletor's like, you idiot! It's just a crystal ball. It means it's bullshit. It's nothing. But while He-Man and Teela are taking on the Beast there, so
yeah, which
very, very menacing looking.
Yeah,
and they track down Skeletor, and Skeletor's just like, it's worthless. This means nothing to me. It's not the egg, and just throws it down, and without realizing that the crystal is the egg.
Yep, cracks just like an egg.
Yep, and
baby dragon.
Yeah, and it's of course
with Punisher logo all across the top.
Yes, yeah, that's awesome, isn't it? And it's just great poses. They're all just kind of in shock, like it's a baby dragon inside the egg, and just not what they were expecting. And
yeah, and then I mean, just look in these little
touches of like these I won't say incense, but it's like
the torches.
Yeah, there you go.
Almost.
Yeah, the torch holders that are just emitting like this kind of green flame out. And it's details like that I really do appreciate. And I'm glad you point those out. It's stuff like that, from the skull motif, above them, and to the green flames, and just the atmosphere that's drawn. Like, these guys are just kind of given free range to kind of come up with their own ideas of what these locations, some of them, like Snake Mountain doesn't look like Filmation. It doesn't look like the toy a lot of times in the Golden Books. It's a cavern with, this giant pole that Skeletor and Beastman just happened to look at. Or it's even in the hardcover Golden Books, the exteriors may look like the toy, but the interiors look nothing like it. And I always think that's kind of interesting. That's another thing we have not done too much of in the past, who was covering the hardcover books, which there are. Maybe, I don't know. I hope you can come across some, because some of them are pretty interesting, and some of them are kind of lousy.
I think I have those. We'll talk about it after the show, because that's something we do need to cover. But a scene like this, we were talking about Filmation. You could probably think of a couple of music cues that would go well.
Oh my God, yeah. And of course, you can't help but think about the Dragon Invasion, which it's completely different in terms of story, but I just think of like a baby dragon is right there in front of you that Skeletor would try to take and use for his own purposes. And he grabs a hold of the baby dragon and it's like, it's mine, I'm going to train it, for my own evil will. and He-Man and Teela are just like look, just all they're just in awe of like what's behind her. Like, what are you looking at?
Kind of got little. It looks a little bit like Dolph right here in the face, sort of.
It does look a little bit like Dolph there.
Yeah, more Punisher skulls.
Yeah.
Get a better look at the. See, when you see it from this angle, this looks more like a vent.
Yeah.
That, like this is coming out of. So it's kind of more like a.
Like
smog,
mist.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of it just adds more ambiance to the atmosphere there, I think. And what is there is it's the mother dragon.
Yeah, it's like it's the number one rule when it comes to animals that you find in the wild. Never separate the baby from its mother, because the mother will.
Yeah, hell hath no fear like a mother's vengeance over her child. And as we see, Skeletor goes into full-on defense and then has to confront He-Man right after fighting the mother dragon.
Yeah. Well, I like He-Man's line of dialogue here where he says, "We've all lost. All babies, even dragon babies, belong with their mothers."
Yeah, and I could hear John Irwin saying that very easily.
Yeah, just God, like He-Man's going towards Skeletor. Teela's looking up, and we have the
they're just in awe of the mothers reunited with the baby, and Skeletor's like, "You guys are all fools. Like this could have been ours. Like to do whatever we want." And it's but that's Skeletor. Like you don't need to see him in any other way other than just thinking like you're all idiots for not following what I thought was a great idea.
Well, I mean, also too, if I'm not mistaken, earlier on in the book, He-Man had the same train of thought too, right?
Yes.
If we find this dragon, we can train it to be our ally and blah blah blah. So it's kind of, it's not often that they both have the same idea for something, just with different intentions.
Yeah, and it still would have been a great idea and visual had a baby dragon lost its mother, much like Land Before Time. And
that's a sad movie.
Oh my God, dude! I will never watch that movie again because I didn't cry once as a child watching it. As an adult, I'm just like, oh God. But anyway, I feel like though that would make a great idea for a new character, like a new steed for the Heroic Warriors, and I mean, He-Man has Battle Cat, Fisto has Stridor. I don't know who would be in command of this, in charge of like raising this dragon to be a friend and an ally, and who would be quite fitting.
Who would step up to be the father to this
dragon? Well, I think too, like someone take on the responsibility of like, okay, I'll take him in, I will feed him, I will train him. I will teach him, like who we all are, that we're all friends, who's not, your friend.
I mean, who do you think would be a good candidate?
In terms of like, if they were to, I guess it depends on what year we were going to introduce this idea of a dragon, heroic dragon steed to be part of the Heroic Warriors. Because I feel like, Man-at-Arms has his niche with weapons and technology. Teela's captain of the guard. He-Man has Battle Cat. Fisto has Stridor. Cyclone doesn't require like any kind of steed because he is his own, vehicle.
Yeah, Stratos wouldn't need
Stratos flies. But then I think Stratos like could help teach it to maneuver
teach it to fly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because he does fly, and I'm thinking like, I don't know. I that may not be. I guess I feel like someone a little bit more grounded that would ride him into battle. Like I could see Stratos maybe. I could see everybody kind of chipping in and helping this baby dragon. Because he'd have to learn. Who Teela is, who Man-at-Arms is, who Queen Marlene and King Randor are. Like all of these people there on like who Ram-Man is, who Clamp-Champ is. But someone that would train him and be like his guardian and protector until he's old enough, and then where he is, old enough to where he's like
maybe Ram-Man, because I think that could open up the possibilities of having like some good, warm-hearted, because he's so kind of just aloof a little bit that it kind of would play into the baby deer aspects of the baby dragon or something.
I kind of thought that, and I'm glad you said it because I was like, you know what, like, and I think Filmation Ram Man,
Yeah,
because I like to think of, and that's my favorite version of Ram Man. Like I know people like to think of Ram Man as being the same height as He Man or even bigger than He Man, but there's something a lot more lovable about a shorter Ram Man who's a bit slower. He's not dumb. He's
yeah.
just slower. And I could very easily see him like taking a liking to a baby dragon, raising it, feeding it, and it just becoming a really faithful friend to Ram Man, like carrying him into battle. And Ram Man's like slamming into enemies that would try to like to stab or
Well,
attack the
I mean,
dragon.
think about it. If Ram Man is actually riding the dragon, he could almost jump off the torpedo down.
Yes,
So,
excellent idea.
yeah, I think Ram Man works.
You know what? And Ram Man deserves to have something like that because you know what? Not everybody needs to have a steed, but you know what? I think Ram Man is the prime candidate amongst all the heroic warriors to have his own personal. And why not have a young dragon that he would raise on his own to eat? Not attack people and eat them, but raise it on certain foods that a dragon could eat. Like meats from animals and things like that. They would cook or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that would be quite badass to see Ram Man and this heroic dragon, like picture like Ram Man riding, the tack troll, excuse me, or Warlock from Black Star, which is the same character. Like if people want an image of what that might look like, just take that and picture Ram Man riding on it, and then like you said, being up at a great distance and then torpedoing down and just annihilating like 4 or 5 evil warriors at once from above.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be a good visual.
Yeah, dude.
I kind of see Ram Man to a certain degree, sort of like Gimli in Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
very, very feisty, eager to fight, but extremely lovable. Would laugh and make jokes, not in a way that would kill the tone.
Yeah.
But much like Gimli and Legolas would kind of bust each other's balls like during the Battle of Helm's Deep. I wish they had done more with like Ram Man and Man-E-Face's friendship too, which is only done in one episode. But I think there's a lot of fun to be had with that, dude. I really do.
I guess Man-E-Faces could probably be a good second candidate for the dragon. Maybe to the degree of, if you want to go that route of the dragon to an extent being sort of misunderstood, whereas Man-E-Faces with his changing of personalities, that it's often he's
I can see him like maybe like when the dragon's being exposed to further parts of eternity, they think a dragon, oh my god. And he's like, no, that they're afraid of me. I could see Man-E-Faces like, I can relate. When I came out and about, everybody made fun of me, didn't know what to make of me. They were afraid of me. They thought I was a monster, so I became angry. We don't want you to go down that same path.
Yeah.
And dragons are to be feared on this planet because dragons are one of the, the more dominating species of Eternia. So yeah, you should be feared, but people need to respect you also.
Yeah.
And not think that you're just like you're out to eat them or burn them alive in their village. That you're a friend of the heroic warriors and of the royal palace.
But same time too, Ram Man jumping off the dragon, torpedoing down while the dragon is like blowing fire or something makes too good of a visual. So we'll stick with Ram Man.
Yeah, well, I just say that's what it would be solely a Ram Man steed, but I'd like to see Man-E-Faces kind of
have that interaction.
Like, why is everyone so afraid of me? There's a lot of fun to be had with dragons in the worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Like I love Sorrowful from She-Ra, obviously Granomir, and the use of dragons in the He-Man mythology. More, thanks to Larry DiTellio and Michael Reeves. There's a lot of fun to be had with them, and that there are moments like in the Dragon Invasion too, like the Mother Dragon, like sees He-Man as an ally. You know, like when he thanks her for opening the Dragon Pearl and releasing the Sorceress, and she nods because I just cannot but feel like she's either has seen or is aware that He-Man has saved one of her children in the battle inside Snake Mountain earlier. Just things like that. You know, she obviously can tell like these guys are not out to abuse and mishandle my children. This guy's trying to save my kids. You know, her babies and things like that too. So a lot of things to be broken down. A lot of fun to be had in the mythology of dragons with He-Man.
But we're already here at pretty much the end of this Golden Book.
Yeah, and they just decide.
Well, Skeletor tries to goad He-Man into following him.
Yeah, to lure him deeper into Snake Mountain there, and He-Man's like, you know what, we're not doing this, and we're just gonna get on out of here. Yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah, He-Man goes to say he hoped to have us search through the secret passageways of Snake Mountain until his evil warriors returned to outnumber us. Instead, we used the opportunity to escape this foul place.
And I like that at some point the evil warriors are all going to come back. We don't know how many have been dispatched. You know, they're all in. You know, it could be more. There could be more in Snake Mountain. There could be more on various missions. All we know are the ones that have been seen right now, and they all may be showing up. You know, one after the other. And yeah, it's going to be a battle to get out of there.
And much like Filmation, we kind of get the grouping of characters here. We're going to have our little ha-ha wink and nod moment.
Yeah, where Adam shows up and he's missed all the action and pretty much well, it just sounds like you guys have been doing babysitting the whole time, and just winks at the camera, so to speak, much like how Filmation would do it.
And Fisto's going to keep the box because it's not much of a treasure now, but it's a thrilling memento of a most dangerous adventure. And I like to think that a character like Fisto would keep certain mementos during these battles, whatever it may be, and he has like this little shrine that he's built.
Yes.
Like, look at all these places that I've gone and battles that I've fought.
I could see like characters like Stanlin or Chad from Filmation, like incorporate them more into the mythology, where they come and talk to Fisto, and they all come and they want to hear war stories from Fisto. As he's out there, giving Strider like an oil bath or something like that. And, and they just want to sit like, tell us about the time that you found the dragon's egg. And they're all sitting around and, or he like takes him out camping or something like that, and just tells, great war stories, around the campfire. And they're all just like, man, I want to be part of one. I want to be one of the Palace Guards. I want to be a heroic war when I grow up.
Well, it could also be a situation where he's telling a story and then that sort of materializes again while they're there on the trip, and these kids are so I would love to do that, and then they're going to be in that situation. That's another
that'd be fun, because then they all get separated, and then they all have to go all Red Dawn, where they have to fend for themselves while Skeletor's warriors are trying to capture them or take something of value. And now it's like Fisto's been dispatched, like we're out here on our own, like. And I always like seeing this on the back of these golden books, like a roster of other books.
Yeah. 2 new titles: high adventure, exciting action, spellbinding magic. Mighty heroes defend their world against the forces of evil. So yeah, we got.
I mean, just
the book. I don't understand why they put the book that we just read on the back. It's like I would do the Rock Warriors and another one, but
I'm going to assume that's because they just assume that we're going to put this same backing on every book
to let you know that these are both out
Warriors,
now.
You had Secrets of Dragons.
Yeah,
first,
I get it, but they also make a point to tell you pick up Mask of Evil, Time Trouble, Sword of Skeletor, Thief of Castle Grayskull, Caverns of Fear, or The Trap. Or hey, they got a couple of GoBot storybooks.
Hell yeah, dude! Like I'd be pumped as hell if I got that. Like I'll look at all these various books. I got to get, man. I'd want all of them, man. And they all those He-Man titles right there have got some of the best covers. Earl Norm did Mask of Evil, Time Trouble, and I think Dino Diachile did Sword of Skeletor, Thief of Castle Grayskull, Caverns of Fear, and I think he did The Trap. And Trap has got one of the most intense covers that's ever been done. That and Sword of Skeletor. I mean, that Sword of Skeletor reminds me of a Conan, like a Frank Frazetta painting, because it's very dark, like the battle. And that was the first He-Man book I ever got, was the Sword of Skeletor, man, and it still might be my favorite one.
Do you own all of them?
I own it, all of them. Yeah, yeah, they're in stores, but I own. There isn't one of the Golden Books I don't own. I don't know all the She-Ra ones. I think I only owned like 2 of those growing up.
Is there
But
any interest in getting the rest of them or anything?
I just never made it a priority, you know. And they had some beautiful covers. Like Earl Norm did the Sword of She-Ra book. And I found that in the same library at my elementary school back then too. And I'm like, oh my god, dude! And that was my first introduction to the Secret of the Sword. I had no idea there was a movie or 5 episodes, and I see this book and this amazing looking cover. And that's how I found out Hordak stole She-Ra as a baby. Like, I had no idea about any of that stuff. It's like, oh my god! Like, I had to hide it secretly because people might make fun of me. Look at Tyler there. He likes the Power Rangers. He's got a girl's book.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the beauty pre-internet of all this stuff, is just discovering these things for the first time. There's more of this out here. I can't.
And again, that just kept me fueled through childhood. Like, there's so much out here that I kept thinking, like, I know there's other characters, there's other figures. I gotta have them. I know there's more episodes I haven't seen.
And you said the first time that you had access to the internet, the first thing you searched was
He-Man. It was on AskJeeves.com. And I looked for He-Man, and I found the Adam Tyner website, which was just pictures of the toys, and I think the prototypes, which is when I saw the Hero prototype, the Cosmic Key prototype, Eldor, and the Eternia playset for the first time, because all I had to go on was just a list in the price guide, Eternia. Like, is that the Royal Palace?
Yeah.
You know, I had no idea the three towers was even a toy.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, the basic knowledge is you just get that core set, or like wave 1, wave 2, I think is what a lot of people really remember from the vintage line. So for you to see all these other things down the pipe that came out, that I guess maybe around that time would have been plentiful at local yard sales and flea markets, but I don't really seem to recall coming across too much vintage Master Universe stuff back then.
I didn't see and I do remember, you know, one of my first memories of going to a flea market was in Pennsylvania, and that's how I got Grizzlor.
Mm-hmm.
But that was in the 80s, so it was probably like 87, somewhere in 87. Going to a flea market and seeing Grizzlor on this table, like, oh, it's Grizzlor. And that was my first, you know, and from there on, like, flea markets, I associate flea markets with He-Man, and I would get Roboto at the Hillsville Flea Market. I would get my first He-Man lunchbox at the Hillsville Flea Market.
Yeah.
You know, and I would find mini comics and stickers, and that's what it got to, where the Hillsville Flea Market was the pinnacle of finding He-Man.
And was it the same vendor or different
no,
ones?
It was just different vendors every year. It was just, you know,
it was so weird because around that time, like early 2000s, and then kind of going beyond that, that's when I remember really starting to see more of the vintage stuff, a stray mini comic here and there. So you having access now to the internet and just going to the org and seeing, you kind of essentially start to build a checklist now of, this is what I need to fill this shelf up, that top shelf behind you.
That, and relying a lot on toy magazines that had ads for vintage toy stores all across the country.
Yeah.
From like Final Frontier Toys, Brian's Toys, these places that you get small catalogs in the mail, and they were selling He-Man figures
carded
for $20 a piece.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Like, and then we talked about this. It's like you got to get the money order. You got to send the money order off. And then you gotta wait like another 2 weeks, maybe longer, before it shows up.
It felt longer than that. Like Figures Inc. When I was in, I think 7th grade, was when I was determined, like, I want to buy a Men on Card He-Man figure, and it was an ad in like Antique Toys magazine, I think is what it was called. And I'd seen the same ad over and over and over again for years, and I would see like this small box, and it was the name of characters I wasn't familiar with. It was Ninjor, Scareglow, Clampchamp, Mosquitor. They were all $20 a piece for several years at a Figures Inc., which was a store in New Jersey. And finally, I just made up my mind, like, I want to spend what money I got and just attempt to buy a He-Man figure. I didn't know if Clampchamp was the character I thought it was. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bite the bullet, send this money order, and hope that Clam Champ is the character I think it is. And when he showed up in all his glory, like, oh, it is him, and I opened him up.
Well, because you're
I
going to
opened
display
all of them.
Yeah,
I wanted the mini comics. I wanted to have the figure set next to all my others, and I opened up Mosquito. I opened up the Horde Trooper.
Yeah,
you know, and
I am a big pusher for, to a certain degree. Now it's like if I came across a vintage Clamp Champ men on card for a really good price, obviously I'm going to get it and I won't open that. But just anything now, anything new that I get, whatever, let them breathe. Like open them up. There's no sense in keeping most of this stuff in the package. And also, if you can help it, because I know that most of us here can relate to this, throw away the boxes, most of them.
Yeah, I can't,
especially now with newer toys, throw that shit away. You don't need it.
Marvel
you don't
Legends
need it.
Boxes, the most laziest looking packaging in the world.
Throw it away. Because all it's going to do is take up space. I need to go again through the closet back here, because I think I've saved some boxes of things. I need to get rid of it. Just open up the space. Now, statues, if you can keep the boxes for those, since if you want to pack them back in with the styrofoam and everything. But any of this newer stuff, I'm like, let it breathe, open it up.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but today's packaging for adult collectibles is nothing like the stuff we got when we were kids. It just seems kind of like, I know there's a big market for guys who want to just keep everything mint in box or package, but if the packages were worth a damn, that would be something. But they're not. It's all lazy and poor looking.
I would say maybe, if anything, the retro card Marvel Legends would be something, just because it's got the character art on the card.
Yeah, that like G.I. Joe was with the retro art on it.
Yeah,
like,
the retro. That's
that makes sense. But like the small box with just the big plastic window, the packaging is very bland looking, like with
just
the letter and the logo.
Yeah,
it's like
let it breathe, man. You got to put this stuff on display. Speaking of which, I'm actually in the process of rearranging. So you see Pee-wee and Cherry back here.
Yes.
I had that downstairs, but I brought the Playhouse up here. I'm like, I want to be able to look at this every time I come in here.
Yeah.
But I'm actually the Better Ray Bill display, I'm gonna move down and put it on the open wall that I have in the comic room. And then I'm gonna bring the Pee-wee's Big Adventure poster and put right there. Before we move on to questions and stuff, Secret of the Dragon's Egg, out of 10, what do you give?
I give it a 9 out of 10.
Same.
Yeah. It's a kick-ass story, amazing artwork. It's you got Goatman, all the villains look great, the heroes look great. It's easily a 9 out of 10. It's a classic story. The cover art kicks ass all over the place, as anything Earl Norm does. Everything he touches turns to gold. I've never seen her do a bad piece of artwork for He-Man ever. Like and everything he did for Conan, he has a very distinct style too. And I encourage people, which I imagine some of our listeners are pretty familiar with his work on Conan, but if you're not, look up the cover gallery on Google and just look at all the covers. He didn't do every cover, but he did a lot of them.
And actually, if you want to go backtrack on the channel, we did a couple episodes of appreciating Earl Norm's artwork, and we showed a lot of that stuff off. So,
like here's I just happen to have this here, but here's a beautiful Conan cover he did. You know, I can just tell by looking at it, like that's Earl Norm's work.
Yeah,
you know, and amongst many others, but you know, we were very fortunate to have someone who was willing to do such a badass job that he was painting illustrations for adults, and I was like, all right, I'll do them for kids, and I'll just bring that same level of pedigree to kids. And to this day, like, I hope he knows. I know he's aware that his work on He-Man was beloved, but I'm like, man, I really hope he had an idea before he passed away of how much his work meant to so many. I mean, because it really was.
I would think that he would, because he passed away in 2015. So by that point, this pop culture zeitgeist was already in full swing. Yeah. So yeah, I would think that he was very aware of how much his artwork meant to people. And it goes back to saying too, and you talked about this earlier, that putting that amount of effort and doing specifically stuff for that, for covers that would be used targeted towards children to read. It's just one of those things, much like movie posters of the past, is that lost art. It's just gone the way. There's just something special about something that was handcrafted over something that was done in Photoshop, and that'll never change.
No. It's something I you know what, it'll never come back. But I'm glad, you know, we were exposed to beautiful box art on VHS tapes, movie posters in the theaters. You know, just a lot went into, like, we need things that are badass. It's going to pack a punch. You know, even if the movie may not be great, it's got an amazing poster.
That's what got the butts and seats to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's like they saw the poster and it's like, that looks intriguing. When does that come out?
And I miss that. And unfortunately, you know, it's gone the way of the dodo, and we can bitch and complain about it all we want. But you know what? At least we're grateful that we were exposed to that and we got to see it. And it left impressions on us, where you seek out that VHS tape with that cold box, or the vintage movie poster, or maybe a replica movie poster, or a book with all the artwork of various movies, like Drew Struzan, who's probably the greatest movie poster artist of all time. You know, there's beautiful, because he did the live action movie poster. He did, you know, the Back to the Future. He did Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and just all kinds of, you know, ass kicking posters. You know, like he did the Harry Potter fans. He did the Harry Potter movie posters. He did the Thing movie poster.
Well, it was what, Harry Potter. It was only like a couple movies worth of that.
Yeah, I don't think he did all of them, but I know.
Yeah, I think it was like maybe the first two, and I think at that point that's when they switched to just the like photoshopped.
Yeah, where it's just faces all over the place, just lazy and cheap, whatever. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick before we dive into questions or whatever real quick. Of course, if there are any.
Yeah. Check out the links in the description below. Tyler mentioned this before. James's channel, Serial Geek TV, is down there. Check out the Dump Bin and subscribe to that. I need to do more stuff with that. I'm going to say that every time that we do this. I'll get around to hopefully putting more content on that channel. And I will say here, if you're new to this, your first time checking us out, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. I'll say this out there to all of you watching live here in the chat right now. Go ahead and click like if you enjoyed this so far. And going back to Tyler's point too about lost art and all that stuff, I think most of us here are roughly the same age. So I think we can all agree that it was awesome that we got to experience life pre-social media, pre-internet being what the internet is today. With that being said, I do appreciate the internet and the aspect of we're able to go and like Tyler earlier on, it's like there's all this Master Universe stuff that I've never seen before. And so there are good aspects to that, but I do vie for the days of just pre-internet and just going out and discovering stuff for the first time and digging up things that you didn't even know existed. You didn't have to worry about resellers. And it was easy to collect things.
Scalpers were not. I just think back then, like in the 90s, like they're just selling old toys. They're not looking at it as, you know, this is He-Man, Thundercats, is GI Joe. It's like, you know, even though it's
here's toys. I put this bag $3. It's that's long.
Move the shit, and it was an incredibly exciting time, and of just that constant adventure of like buying magazines that are selling. And I remember calling some of these places, do you have this figure? Do you have that? There's like some place out in California, like, yeah, we have that. Like, and then I like, Mom, can I have your credit card? And I'm like, I'm too scared to give the credit card. Can you do it? You know, that kind of thing. Like, I remember that's how I got squeezed was some toy store in Pensacola, Florida. You know, and on the phone with these guys in Florida, like buying Squeeze, and they mailed it to me, but I had to give them the credit card over the phone. And,
how close are you to Hulk Hogan's beach shop?
Yeah.
What was I going to say to tack onto that? I had the thought and then I lost it. Well, we'll get to one of the first questions here. This comes from My Buddies Customs. Y'all remember the puffy He-Man stickers?
I never had any. Yeah, and See, the puffy stickers I had Black Star, and I remember getting Thundercat and Ghostbusters from the doctor's office as a kid.
I had Ghostbuster ones, but in terms of Master Universe, I didn't have them in the puffy sticker.
Yeah, unfortunately I'd have lost my shit had I been given a package of it, because I was all about puffy stickers as a kid. I had Secret Wars stickers, but no He-Man stickers at all. It was just something that I could say easily being around. I just didn't catch it, you know.
Let me ask you this. This memory still sticks out to me. So this would have been second grade. We had a substitute teacher, and she came in and she set some guidelines of just like whoever is the best behaved kind of thing. I got some stuff for everyone, and it was like a Ninja Turtle notepad. It was like Ninja Turtle stickers, and I got both of them. But when I got the stickers, and tell me if this sounds crazy to you. This is probably just collector mentality. I didn't peel the stickers off and put them on anything. I wanted them all just on the sheet. I didn't want to mess with them. Is that crazy?
No, because I think about, see, I have a similar story to what you just said. And is that mine was in third grade, and one of the coolest substitute teacher we ever had. We had her a few times. She was the mother of one of my classmates. She came in and said she had, pencils and all kinds of things to give out if we were good, and she would come along quiet and let you know, like, if you're being really good and respectful and doing what you were, she'd tap you on the shoulder and go get you something out of the box up there. And she had pencils up there, and they were WWF pencils, and Hogan, Undertaker, Boss Man, like, I'm like, oh my god. And I was just determined to get as many of these pencils as I could, and I did not sharpen those pencils at all.
I did.
I was like, no.
I did that with some of the other character pencils that I would get too. I'm like, I can't mess this up. How stupid though when you think about it.
But we already had the collector's mentality. Like, no, I can't damage this. I can't use this. It's just I ended up getting the He-Man Skeletor pencil by accident in kindergarten, and I never sharpened those pencils. I paid a dime for those pencils because I need pencils, but I'm like, it's He-Man Skeletor. Like, I ain't sharpening these things, and I had those pencils for years, and they eventually just got lost to time. But
so in 4th and 5th grade, they had like a little store that you could go to. Then they had like folders.
Yeah,
and then it had like you could get anything. Do you? You probably don't remember this because you weren't into sports back then, but they had little like just cheap folders, but they look like the baseball cards.
Okay, yeah.
I would get those.
I saw some of those.
I would get those, and I wouldn't even put anything in them. That's so stupid. It's like we're getting these things, and we're not even like wanting to risk damaging them, even though their purpose is to use them.
Yeah.
They're not for display. It's put this stuff in here and do this, and that's dumb.
I mean, most of the school supplies, like I had a Terminator 2 folder in 3rd grade, and I wanted people to know I got an endoskeleton, Terminator folder. Like, I wanted people to know, like, yeah, I got this, and I put stuff in it. And do you remember the brand called No Rules? And it was like these illustrations of these wild animals doing these aggressive things. Like, there's an alligator like chomping on a volleyball, and these kids look down in the bushes trying to find it. Like a tiger attacking a basketball. There's like oh god, there were these intense illustrations on school supplies.
I gotcha, actually.
And I thought
I'll put it up here on the screen for everyone. I honestly don't remember these.
Okay, I remember getting this. Yeah, there they are.
Oh, that's like not a good quality.
Oh no, that's pretty blurry.
Let me see if this.
But there were several of them, and I just thought that it was so intense seeing these, animals, these wild animals just doing these aggressive actions.
That's a little bit better.
Yeah, like. I didn't have any. I'm familiar with the hockey one. I remember seeing that one, but some of the others I didn't see. Like the alligator with the skate with the rollerblade. That's badass. Like busting out of the concrete, like the movie Alligator.
I don't remember these.
Oh yeah, like I wish you could find the one about the alligator chomping. And there's one with a shark too. I think I had the one with the shark getting ready to attack a surfer.
Yeah, if you find them, send them to me.
Okay.
Here's a comment from Rebel Wookie. The artwork of Earl Norm and others shaped my early image of Master Universe more than anything.
Me too, because the covers I thought were amazing with the first few that I got, but when I saw Earl Norm's work, it just left an even bigger impact. It really did.
Fedmon, have you played any of the vintage Master Universe board games or the Atari video game? I haven't played the Atari video game, but I do have it. No, it might be the Intellivision one.
Yeah, I never had access to play any of them, and I hardly ever saw any of them out in the wild either. I think I just seen pictures of them. I would see ads for them, like in old comic books and things like that as well. Here, I'm gonna send you one here, Nate. This is one I did have as a kid.
But yeah, the only Master Universe video game that I've played is just that Game Boy Advance that I streamed.
Yeah.
And that game was surprisingly like pretty decent.
I played that, and I did have the Escape from Snake Mountain board game, but I didn't play it. Like I bought it as a collectible.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there was another one that one of my dad's coworkers, like, he knew I liked He-Man, and I think he gave me that too. There was a couple of board games, and there it is. I thought that was just that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they were all like. Just these animals doing these really aggressive alpha things. You know?
I really don't remember it. Like you would think seeing that would unlock something I haven't thought about in 30 years, but no, I have no recollection of those.
And there was quite a few of those. I mean, that like this is what I did have this one. Like I said, that I hated going back to school, man, but you know, the school supplies, here's another one that I had too. I thought was badass.
It's gorilla crushing a football.
Football. It was just about the aggression in the illustration of the animal. Like,
I get that this is supposed to be like a tank that's ripped, but it kind of looks like lingerie if you squint.
I see only an orange tank top.
Okay.
But like, you're just taking a big chunk out of the football. Like, I just thought stuff like that was awesome, man.
I really don't remember.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But knowing that they had, like I said, I had a Terminator 2 folder for school supplies, a rated R movie with school supplies. Like, it didn't stop at action figures, man. They had school supplies on.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff they would try to do print it on anything to make a buck, and we'd eat that shit up.
I mean, they sell the little metal buttons, you know.
Yeah. The buttons were a huge deal. I had a good chunk of the 1990 Turtle movie buttons. Remember they had remember those big giant buttons?
Yes, they're massive.
Yeah.
They had those for like Batman, Turtles, I think Dick Tracy. And I had some from Terminator too. What's cool is that the Jolly Time Arcade at the mall, that was one of the prizes you could cash your tickets in was some of those pin buttons. You know?
Yeah.
Badass, man. I'm walking around with my, I need a vacation button from Terminator 2, man. Like, this is awesome.
Those big ones, if you put them on your shirt, it's just like pulling your shirt down.
You're dragging your shirt down because it's like putting a weight on your clothes.
Rebel Wookie, anyone have the Shrinky Dinks?
I didn't learn about Shrinky Dinks until I got the commercials on my bootleg set because there was a commercial for those. And I had no idea what they were. No one ever mentioned them when I was a kid. I never saw them or anything like that. So it wasn't until 11th grade when I heard about Shrinky Dinks.
Shrinky Dinks was that was not a thing for me at all.
Yeah, I think had I been as long as it was He-Man, I'd have been happy with it. But I was happy to have anything He-Man related, so I'd have been happy to have that.
Now, there may have been a point in time where when Tyler and I were kids, we may have either seen them in stores or seen a commercial, but I don't remember it. Tyler would have more before I will, because my memories of childhood are gradually starting to fade away.
Yeah, no, I had no recollection of that at all, like the Burger King cups and stuff like that. Because when that stuff happens, I was probably 2 years old.
I think more of our focus in terms of cartoon properties during that time would have been more G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtle focused above all else, safe to say. Maybe Transformers too, a little bit.
See, Transformers was pretty minimal. Like I said, come '87 when I was introduced to He-Man, it was all about He-Man and then Thundercats.
I was Thundercats was up there. Master Universe for me, not as much as a younger kid. It was there, but it was primarily G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles.
The next year, because '88 or '87, I got my first G.I. Joe, too. And then come '88, that was when it was introduced to Turtles, and gradually more and more with G.I. Joe in '88, and then it just snowballed after that. So I'm still looking for He-Man, I'm still looking for Thundercats, but G.I. Joe and Turtles are right there, and then Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, like I got most of that line when I was a kid, and but yes,
but that was pretty prominent as well, because then Ghostbusters 2 comes out, more toys, trading cards, the slime is out there, and things like that. So
Batman '89 comes out. Dick Tracy comes out a year later. So Dick Tracy, Ghostbusters, Turtles, G.I. Joe, Batman, Dick Tracy. That was
that run from '89 to like '91. Those 3 years, where it's Batman the year of '89 and Ghostbusters 2, and then you have Dick Tracy and Turtles come out the same summer, and then after that, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves comes out, and The Rocketeer.
Yeah,
it's like boom, double features of ass kickers all over the place. Not to mention, I wasn't aware of like The Last Crusade coming out or No Holds Barred at the time.
Yeah, same.
Summer of '89.
Like
Karate Kid 3.
Last Crusade, I didn't see until it was on. They played it on HBO during one of those free weekends, and Dad recorded it on the VHS. So yeah, that's the first time I watched Last Crusade.
I think it was rented once, but then when I really got into it, was my granddaddy got me the set from McDonald's. Like there was one particular holiday season, they were selling the trilogy at McDonald's.
Yeah, when McDonald's would sell VHS tapes. I remember Addams Family, Wayne's World.
Yeah.
God, oh man. Definitely Indiana Jones. I think there were a couple others too.
I can't remember what else was
Pizza Hut sold VHS tapes too.
They sold X-Men tapes. They sold X-Men tapes. And I think they did.
No, they did. I got one of the X-Men tapes.
Yeah, because they had like a very specific, it was just re-releases of what was already out, but with like a different cover and everything. Yeah. And then Burger King sold the Turtle VHS tapes.
All about the Turtle VHS tapes.
I only got one of those, and it was a bad copy. Like it was fucked up and wouldn't play properly. Great. It was the Great Boldini, I think, was the only.
I watched that one more than I would like to admit. Question from Sobek. Weirdest piece of Master Universe merchandise you each own? I don't have as much of the weird stuff. For me, it's just classics, vintage. I don't the other merchandise. I don't really have any of that stuff.
I really can't say anything I've got of He-Man that's weird, or that I'm like
Scoliosis He-Man. That's a weird piece.
Well, I mean, he's become a novelty in its own.
I almost wanted to get that figure on eBay just to have one too.
Which is just it's Thunder Punch He-Man for the new event. That's what it's called. It's called
Thunder Punch. But I'm just gonna pose him like that and put him on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah. How come Mattel hasn't brought this back to Origins? The figure looks good. It's just such a lousy gimmick, man. It just
I agree.
It's crummy.
Yeah,
but I can't think of anything that I would say is honestly weird, because if it was He-Man, I thought it was awesome. It didn't matter what it was. I know there's a lot of oddities out there, like soap dishes and Super Balls and Shrinky Dinks and a variety of other little knickknacks that came out. But if it was He-Man, it was badass to me. But in terms of oddities, I really can't think of anything that I do remember coming across this teeny tiny little pin at the Hillsville Flea Market, I think in 94, 95. And it was the same year that I got my first lunchbox, and I just happened to walk over to this little glass case, and he had a bunch of random pins. I thought, oh my God, I think that's a He-Man pin. And it was He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Teela on this little, you had like the little back, and you plugged it in the back of your shirt there. Yeah. And I had that pin for years, and I just kept it as a separate, because I didn't want to wear it. because I was afraid he'd get lost or something like that.
Yeah, here we go. See, when it came to pins and buttons, if I wore it, I would wear it. Or I remember specifically that I had like a denim jacket. That was
yeah, those were ideal for buttons.
That was the shit. So of course I had like pins and buttons all over it. Maybe next episode we do, because I have a Ninja Turtles bandana that has a bunch of buttons like pinned into it. I'll bring that up and show that off, because I don't think it's limited to just Ninja Turtle stuff. Like I think I got Batman, Dick Tracy buttons and shit on there too. So I'll dig that up. I'm pretty sure it's just right down in the Turtle Room. I'll bring it up and show that off. And yeah, we got a decent amount of stuff here. My buddy's Customs with another question. If you could have wished for 5 more Classics figures to be added to that line, what characters would you want? Malactha?
Oh, I thought you were going off your own.
No. Malactha would be on there. Spydra would be on there.
Azrog, Spydra, Malactha.
2 more.
I mean, there's, and I'm thinking like either just Filmation or just.
I know you'll roll your eyes. I think it would have been stupid, but Crackers the Clown. If they would have put that, if they would have made a Classics figure of that, I would be sitting on the shelf.
Nah, that would have been one. I'm like much like there's a couple that I wish I hadn't bought, like the Fighting Foeman and the Spirit of Hordak.
But hey, you had to keep the line going, and we thank you for your service, Tyler.
Yeah, because that's what it was. If you didn't, I think those were, I think, just extra shit that Scott wasn't threatening people to buy. You know, it was just other more bullshit, you know, thrown in there to like with his brilliant wisdom and ideas. I'm just kind of looking back to kind of get a little inspiration because KO from New Adventures.
Some of the New Adventures stuff.
Yeah, because I think of like we got Karate, but we didn't get Hoove, and I love Hoove.
Hoove would have been good.
Vizar and Nocturna would have been badass. I just think more New Adventures characters. They barely touched the surface of the New Adventures mythology. You look at Tuscador and Darius and Mara and New Adventures He-Man and Skeletor and Quake. You know, we didn't get Butthead or Staghorn.
Yeah.
We got Krita. But I think more of the Galactic Guardians, like KO would have been number 1.
KO definitely would have been up there, yes.
Yeah, and then maybe Vizar after that. But Azrog, Spydra, Malactha.
Those would be top 3, I think.
And I'm trying to think if
KO would be
Garn. You know, like Garn from the Slave City Minute, like the Native American version.
Yeah.
That'd have been so badass. And Prince Daikon.
Yeah.
You know, from the Secret Liquid of Life. Like the list could go on and on and on. But Spydra and Azrog are top tier. Malactha is a must. Have to have him. And I got to get KO. And I probably would throw in Garn or Prince Daikon for the 5th slot. I think maybe a slight edge to Garn because I just this badass Native American with the war paint and the mohawk.
Yeah.
Like
this is so good. Cool. Yep. Good little list there.
Yeah.
Good
question.
See.
Thank you.
What else do we got here? So Beck, hey, I had the Commando toy vest from the Schwarzenegger movie when I was 5.
That's badass because I had.
And the Rambo toys. The Rambo toys.
They rock, man.
They're awesome. They're really great.
And I'm trying to get Nathan into the Commando toy line too, which is a rare toy line. Which just hold your horses there, Nathan. But I got the 6-inch John Matrix for Christmas of '87, along with Chuck Norris and the Karate Commando figures.
That's another good line.
It's another kick-ass line. It's got great looking figures, good villains, and the Chuck Norris sculpt looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does.
But the Commando line, it's a short, very small line, and there's the GI Joe size, the 6-inch, and then there's 2 12-inch figures, like these big bulky 12-inch figures. There's a Matrix, and then there's a random ninja thrown into it. But the Commando line, it's almost reminiscent of the Rambo line, whereas like the villains, like Joan the Warhawk, they form Savage. The villains in Commando form Fear. and they're led by Sawbones, who's this menacing-looking guy with an eye patch, and you've got Psycho.
Psycho's the best looking one.
And I had Psycho, Sawbones, and Stalker, and I had Blaster as a kid. I thought Blaster was the John Matrix figure, and it's just the John Matrix figure, just with blonde hair and a different color outfit.
It's but okay. I have a birthday coming up. You know.
Believe me, I know that, and I'm already. I got ideas for that. So,
okay.
Just warning: don't buy any shit on eBay.
The last thing I bought on eBay was the Pee-wee's Playhouse for you.
Okay,
that's the last thing.
Keep it that way until your birthday arrives.
Yeah, I really haven't had much interest in wanting to just like buy any figures lately. I mean, I've pre-ordered some stuff on Big Bet, but there's nothing that I see because last week, where I was off, because Dad's always wanted to go back. We went to that toy shop I was telling you about that I was overwhelmed in.
Yeah,
we went there and looked around, and I would see some statues, and Dad would be like, "What you want that for your birthday?
You like that? You like that, huh?"
Yeah, he was like, "You want that for your birthday?" I was like, "No, I'm good." But we went because I got like a shitload of comics, and knocked out more of the Fantastic Four list. Like I mentioned, closer and closer, because we even went ahead and got 400 through 416 of that original run too. So just knocked those out. So there's not pretty much what's left is just all the high dollar shit.
Key issues.
Yeah, all the keys and just all the early issues.
All right, let me throw this at you. Like if you had the opportunity, which I have an idea, I'm going to give you the first appearance of Doctor Doom, or the first appearance of Galactus Silver Surfer. Is like you can pick one of these two. They're in great condition, but you can only have one.
Probably Doom.
Me too.
Doom.
Yeah, I'm going with that. Yeah.
Question from Fedmon. Did you ever do the Pizza Hut summer reading program?
Boy, did we ever.
Book it. Where you had a button, they would put stars on, and if you filled that metal pin button, you get a personal pan. Absolutely.
That was first grade. I was reading every rinky-dink book I could get my hands on.
James and the Giant Peach, Bridge of Terabithia. It's like, let's read all these.
It's the background, like when I'm reading books that were like titled "Go to the Zoo." You know, just these simple little books. But you had to, once you proved that you read it, or you proved to your mom, like I read this. Can you sign off on this? I go to school, get that extra star. I want my pizza. You know, it was so exciting to get that. It was a great time to be a kid, man. Like to get a free pizza. Like, yeah, I'll read whatever bullshit you throw at me. Just give me my pizza.
Yeah. I mean, the incentive, the links that they went to, just to hey, can you read a book or read a?
I'm like, I'm not retaining anything because all I care about is that pizza.
Yeah, same.
You know, much like everything else in school, they never recommended quality reading for kids. It's always just crap. You're like, man, this is boring.
Maybe that's part of the problem now as adults, where I find myself reading a book and sometimes have to like go back and reread because I've drifted off. Like, what's the point in this? I'm not getting a pizza after this.
You got to tell Emily, hey, Emily, I'll finish reading this book if you buy me a pizza.
You got to read 5 first.
It's like, can I pick them out? And I would go to Barnes and Noble and just buy 5 children's books and just read them in less than an hour. And you know, all right, where's my pizza?
I think I've told this story before. My cousin Michelle, also, of course, we're the same age, so she's doing the book it deal. Goes in, her dad goes in with her, turn in hey, give me the personal pan pizza. And I guess something took forever. I don't know what happened, but he got pissed off. When they gave him the pizza, he like took it and threw it at the manager, and they couldn't go back to that Pizza Hut anymore.
That sounds like someone I know.
Yeah. Me as an adult. Oh, Fedmon chiming in. Back to the Future, Land Before Time. 5 Will Goes West are part of the McDonald's run of VHS.
Okay, yeah. I remember Back to the Future, and I don't remember Land Before Time being part of that.
5 Will, I definitely remember being sold at McDonald's. Which, God, talk about another sad movie.
The American Tail. Like I can watch the end of that right now on YouTube and just bawl my eyes out. Like when he runs to Papa, like, oh my God, it's so great. As a kid, you feel like, my God, can he finally get to his damn parents already?
They're right there too.
They're passing right there. This is
it's bullshit.
But they were not afraid to have children cry, man.
Yeah, they really.
And oddly, I didn't cry as a kid at American Tail. It was like sitting there sad and like this is scary, man. Like you can't be pulled away from it though.
I'm trying. Like I don't remember crying during those, but that would be something that Dad, if you're watching, because Mom will remember. Text me and let me know if I cried during any of these movies as a kid.
Yeah, I didn't cry during any of the animated films back then. I was all, overwhelmed by them. Like Land Before Time had the hand puppets at Pizza Hut. Remember those?
Yeah,
I had every one of them. I owned. That was one collection I was so proud of because I owned every one of them.
So there was also the Happy Meal toys for that. I believe.
Like McDonald's did Happy Meal toys too. Because I thought Pizza Hut was the only ones that did.
Maybe it was Burger King. Maybe it was Burger King. Yeah, it was Burger King that did Land Before Time toys.
At the same time as Pizza Hut?
I guess so. You might have to look it up, but I got Emily those. I kind of want to get her those Pizza Hut puppets. But yeah, I remember the puppets for Land Before Time and then Eureka's Castle.
Oh yeah, that was a show. I wish they didn't sing. I could have enjoyed it more if they didn't sing.
I liked that show as a kid.
Well, I thought it was cool looking. Like I liked all the puppets and stuff like that. But I was just like, stop singing.
I get you.
Much like everything on Nick Jr. during the day was all about singing and dancing.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because that's a good way to teach kids, like younger kids stuff too.
Oh God, like Fred Panner's Place or Today's Special or David the Gnome came on during Nick Jr. back.
I remember that. What was that koala show? Was that
there was the koala show and then there was the Noozles. The Noozles was like these two alien koalas that came from outer space, and then the koala show was about a koala family who was friends with a rabbit family and the various other animals.
It may have been Noozles that I remember. I just remember koalas.
Here. All right. Well, since you bring that up, like I know we're doing these random kind of nostalgia bits. Like, let me just see if I can find the koala show for you real quick.
Okay. Comment here from my buddies Customs. I ruined my VHS of Batman 89 and my recorded 87 Master Universe movie, where it started recording after the intro, so I never knew about the voiceover intro till later in life.
Wait, say that one more time.
Should have been paying attention, man. He ruined his VHS of Batman 89 and the recording 87. Of the 87 movie, where it started recording after the intro, so I never knew about the voiceover until later in life.
Oh, that's that. Well, I'm sure that would have blown my mind too had I known.
Yeah.
And I had one of my mom's coworkers made a double tape of the live action movie from I think in 88 or 89. So for most of my childhood, I used that same tape over and over again. I think not until I was a teenager I bought like a hard copy so I could have the box. It's called The Little Adventures of the Koala. Adventures of the Little Koala. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Adventures of Little Koala?
Of the Little Koala. And that's about as anime as I ever got with shows like this, that were on Nick Jr. And that and the Grimm Fairy Tales. Yeah, Noozles, Grimm Fairy Tales, and The Adventures of the Little Koala.
Maybe I think Adventures of the Little Koala is the one that I remember too.
Okay,
yeah, maybe both.
They came on around the same time in the same time frame of the day too.
Yeah, it's like Armageddon and Deep Impact. It's like
what a comparison.
It's like Volcano and Dante's Peak. Yeah,
Wyatt Earp and Tombstone.
Yeah. God, Dante's Peak's such a piece of shit. Anyway,
Volcano both.
Yeah, Volcano sucks. Like Tommy Lee Jones, let's dig a trench around the thing and let the lava flow through there. I was like, oh man. So I remember watching Volcano for the first time at my cousin Michelle's house because we would rent movies in the summer and I'd go to her house. And I was dating one of her friends because I dated all of her friends at one point. I think it was
a Tomcat back in the day.
I mean. When you're in middle school, it's just like, oh, we're holding hands and we're making out a little bit, kind of. It didn't go beyond that, so it was very innocent.
Just some light, heavy petting.
Yeah. Here's a comment from Johnny Cock. Nathan, were you as attached to Master Universe growing up, or was it really cultivated because of your friendship with Tyler? I'm older, and it still almost feels like I was too young to really latch onto it. I grew up bits and pieces of Master Universe as a kid. Hand-me-down vintage toys, occasionally maybe picking something up at a yard sale. But honestly, it was cultivated with the friendship with Tyler. Seeing his collection that he was so afraid and nervous to show me the first time I went to his house. When I saw that, that triggered a lot of those memories that I had prior to. It's like, I remember that. Yeah, I remember Castle Grayskull. Oh, the slime pit. Yeah, I really liked having that hand-me-down toy at the time. So yeah, it was a combination of the friendship with Tyler, and then a couple of years after that, when we're going hunting for the 2000X toys, when they're like, we're bringing back Master Universe, we're bringing back Ninja Turtles, and it's like, holy shit, yeah, all right.
Nathan was with me. No, wait, actually, I went with Matt Hilton, I think, that day when I found out the 2002 toys had just hit the stores.
I remember when they showed up at Walmart and it was like He-Man and Skeletor. I was like, these look amazing. Yeah. I was really like, holy shit, yeah, we're back, baby.
Yeah. And that was around the same time too, like Mattel put out that Batman line that the Four Horsemen did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was out, and then Turtles came back out. They had those 2 packs of G.I. Joes that were being sold, and Marvel Legends were out. So
and cheap, and they came with a comic book, and it was amazing.
They were $5-6 a piece. Like it was stuff we could afford to buy with, you know, not having jobs and just going on allowance and mowing yards,
like, and graduation money.
Yeah, because I spent that summer.
We spent way too much. We spent way too much money. Tyler and I spent all of our graduation money that we got from either our parents, relatives, whoever sent us money on DVDs and action figures.
Yeah.
We were going out every weekend to Best Buy, KB Toys, Walmart, Target, Toys R Us,
every Kmart we could come across.
Any retail store that sold all this stuff. We are there. We are hunting. I wish during that time period that we would have had these, because that would have been awesome. Now, granted, I imagine some of the shit that would have been said in said recorded videos obviously would not be very appropriate in today's modern society.
Yeah, but when you're just out of high school, you're foul mouth, you're just busting balls while looking for toys.
But Tyler, put this in perspective. We graduated 23 years ago. Doesn't it just make you?
It feels like it was just yesterday, though.
It kind of does and doesn't at the same time.
You know, I mean, we look at Nathan looks exactly the way he did when he graduated. His hair is different because his hair's changed multiple lengths over the years. It's gone from short to long to short to long again.
I think I might age though. I think I might chop it off again. I'm
like I've seen a couple of doppelgangers that look like you at the gym. Like they had like your hairstyle from back in the day.
I had a guy come up to me at work today and was like, is your family, I can't remember what last name he tossed out. He was like, is your family this last name from this location? I was like, no. He's like, well, you look like one of them. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Thanks. Go away. But yeah, that time period where Master Universe is back, Turtles is back, G.I. Joe's back on the shelf, like all these things. And Johnny, to answer your question, I think that's where it really started. It started there. It faded for a few years. I've said this plenty of times. I would come to Tyler's place. I would look at his classics figures, and I'm like, I need to get into that line. And Tyler's like, yeah, you should. And I'm like, maybe later.
Yeah, he would come into this very room and look at this stuff and go, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then he would just, you know.
I think that the biggest turnoff to it is that you had to be subscribed to it, because I know that your whole thing was the guy would order one for you too, and you would just pay him. That was an easier access.
Yeah.
For me, that was a bit of a turnoff, especially at that time. It's like, I can't fully jump into this because a lot of those other characters that would come out that you said that you regretted, I had no idea what any of that shit was.
Yeah, and I bought it there were some of it was just shit that was just made up because Scott thought it was a good idea or whatever reason, or to honor some of the Four Horsemen team and stuff like that. But I didn't have a debit card at the time, so I couldn't do a subscription until I got one. And when I did, I was able to actually start subbing up. But I had to rely on a guy who lived in Roanoke, actually 2 guys who lived in Roanoke, and they kind of switched off. And I would have to drive down there every so often and pay them for buying up whatever they were getting a hold of. And I would go back in a couple more months, they'd pile up 3 or 4 more figures. I go back and pay them, And then I get the subscription. And I get mad because it'd be something I didn't want. Most people didn't want. Scott's like, I don't care. I'm controlling the line. I'm writing the story. I'm putting up characters I want because, fuck all you guys. And you did, if you wanted to get Strider, if you wanted to make sure you got that Too Bad or that Stink or that Ninjor, you had to, swallow the pill of getting the Star Sisters. Like, nothing against them. And I'm like, when you're forced to pay a lot of money for something you're kind of indifferent to, it sucks, and I was on, money wise, it was we live in paycheck to paycheck back then. Like, I'm fortunate that I was like, yes, I could afford to do it to the very end. But there were a lot of times where I was like, man, that's $70 I'm forking over for something I'm really not too keen on having.
I remember at the time that you were kind of stressing about money in certain points during that run, and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this.
Because I had to remember this figure's coming out this month, and you're being told, hey, we're withdrawing your money here in a couple of days. Like, I can't buy this right now because they're getting ready to draw the money on this, and then I had to buy this deluxe figure or this beast, or I'm like, but that was the priority, and I was going to do everything, even though I hated the threats and all the garbage and the shit you had to put up with to keep this line going, so you could get Too Bad, so you could get Ninjor. Hell, we never got widgets. I'd have loved to have had a 3-pack of Kandu, Laura, and Squinch, but we didn't get that.
Yeah.
But we all, some people bowed out and said, I'm not putting up with this shit. But a lot of people, they wanted it to succeed. Some guy bought an ungodly amount of subscriptions for fear that the line would not. And I'm thinking,
I mean, granted, the vastness of the line and how much actually came out is very impressive. There's no denying that. It's there's some holes here, and it would have been nice to see X, Y, and Z. But for what came out, that's pretty impressive.
It is
to get a Granomir, like that's
to get Granomir, to get characters like Goatman, the movie
Shadow Beast,
the Shadow Beast. We got Jygor. We got Mask and Chakotay. We got Horde Trooper. All the Snake Men.
James prefers Gygor. We got to put that out there to everyone. We actually got that message. Was it yesterday?
Well, he gave us some amazing feedback on a recent episodes, but he's just a drunk who likes to go to McDonald's. What does he know?
Let's see, a couple more here from My Buddy's Customs. Of all the added characters to classics that were not vintage or Filmation, who is your favorite? Either concept, design, or story behind the character?
I think
Fearless Photog.
Fearless Photog and Dragoman. Everything else was just complete dog shit. It was just lousy, and it was all done for people who were willing to do it for free. And that's pretty much what it was. Scott got to force in his we know what that was about. Jeff Johns got to submit his bullshit, and then we had the ever memorable side shop. But Fearless Photog we should have gotten that back in the 80s, and we did. So I'm glad we got that. And then the Four Horsemen, who should have been the only ones to have designed original characters, only got one, and we got Dragoman. And
Dragoman's a good looking.
Yeah, it was. That was like that belongs in this line. The rest of them belong, in a dumpster somewhere. It was a waste of an idea that they could have done so much more. And then we got the also memorable Counselor Grayskull Man. So someone just shoot me in the head over that one. Especially when we saw the other concepts that were like honorable mentions. Like, why the hell weren't they selected?
Yeah, I think all those concept characters should have been made.
Oh, they were amazing, and I'm still to this day am pissed off that none of them ever got made. They were thrown in a shitty mini comic that Scott made that was drawn beautifully by Axel, but it was again, like always, just bad storytelling.
I'll toss this out. If they managed to make those in Origins form, would you get those?
No. Just I still look at Origins today. It's very cheap. They just look very poorly made. They don't look like there's been a lot. They just look underdone. I see pictures of current ones. I'm like, they still look like they've not improved at all. It just looks like a very poorly made toy line. It really does, and I love nothing more than support a current He-Man line, but that Masterverse is just like Mattel They just rely on people like, hey, it's He-Man. I remember He-Man. I'm going to buy this figure. I'm going to buy that figure. That was in the cartoon. I'll buy that too.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before. I understand the concept of just missing out. It's we've talked about this plenty of times, but those people that are collecting Masterverse, like I know Blade came out in Masterverse, and I get why people would see that. It's like I need a Blade figure, right? Because it's a cheaper alternative to what you get in classics. So, but in my mind, I'm like, well, I already have a Blade in classics. Yeah. I don't need a Masterverse. So that's just our mindset. Plus, it's it's at a point like shelf space is getting quite thin.
Well, and
Tyler more so than me.
Oh, definitely me. But I'm also like, I'm at a point. It takes a lot to impress me anymore. It really does. Like the Iron Studio statues that they put out of He-Man, those are impressive. I don't own any because I don't have any room for them.
And the price tag, a lot of that too, especially with the will it, won't it tariff deal is it kind of tax on. We're getting priced out of the market essentially. It is, and it's you absolutely want it, but it goes back to $5 on a comic now. Spider-Man with web accessories and no comic is $50. Thank you, Marvel Legends. It's gradually getting greedier and greedier. That it's really gonna start pricing people out of the hobby. So
but there are people out there who continue to buy it at no matter what price it is. So people can complain all they want. They're always going to be outnumbered because you got people much like I look at a lot of the Origins fans like they're just buying it because it's there. I'm not knocking them as people. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
There's no like I just wish people had and maybe they're just indifferent to it. But I just wish people cared about quality more. You look at the you know what? I'm not going to do an Origins fan.
We're not doing this.
I'm not doing this right now. I almost threw up right then and there.
My buddy coming in clutch again. Who's your favorite character from each faction? Heroic Warriors, Evil Warriors, Horde, Snake Men, New Adventures Heroes, and Space Mutants.
Heroic Warriors, Cyclone, Evil Warriors, Too Bad, The Horde, Modulok, Snake Men, Squeeze, New Adventures, KO, Space Mutants, Karate.
Ooh, I'm with you on KO and Karate. Heroic Warriors. Damn. I'm probably going to honestly have to go Clamp Champ. Evil Warriors. I mean, Too Bad's a good one.
Like if we were asked like a top 5 or top 3 from each faction, my favorite Heroic Warriors are all in this tank top right here that I had done. So Clamp Champ, Lizard Man, Cyclone, Mossman, and Fisto. And Buzz Off. I love Buzz Off.
Evil Warriors, maybe Triclops. Horde.
Yeah, he's the best of the original Fab 5 by far.
Horde, you went Modulok, correct?
Yeah. The Dial-A-Mug would be number 2.
Dial-A-Mug, because I think we mentioned this before. I think Dial-A-Mug and I would get along really well. Snake Man, got to go Snake Face, I think. Squeeze is a good one, but Snake Face, and then KO and Karate. What else we got? Johnny letting us know did watch that 2-parter after we told him they needed to watch it. So
you need to leave us the feedback. We told you to do it, man.
Leave a comment after we're done with the show on this video and tell us your detailed thoughts on the 2-parter. My buddy, semi-serious question for Tyler: you ever dress up as He-Man and just flex in front of the mirror? Because I would.
No, I don't do that.
Take the compliment, but my buddy's saying if they had your physique, they would flex in the mirror.
Well, I'm no joke. I did it today. I listened to the live action movie and Filmation when I'm working out a lot. The fight sequences, the transformation. I listen to all that, and it motivates me when I'm lifting weights. And I wear the Power Sword necklace a lot, and I think about being He-Man a lot in the gym. That helps you get you motivated, get you pumped, and when you get a nice pump, you're like, man, I feel like I could wield the Power Sword and go kick some ass. It's a lot of fun. Mentally, I'm thinking about it. I know, because you got people in the gym that are like, I got to record my 35-pound set here. Like,
do you get that? Does that happen a lot? Are there people there that are recording themselves in like an influencer way? Like they want to make a TikTok or put a story on their Instagram?
Some of them, I don't think they're trying to. Then again, I don't know. But they record. It used to be really bad because where it's like there's tripods every 3 feet. I just want to go and just do a punt kick at every one of these tripods, and they're recording the most mundane things they're doing, like nothing.
Just give them the old sleepaway cam when you walk past the camera.
You know, it's gotten a lot better, but like today there was some goose in there recording their most mundane things, and it's like, don't sit there and tell me you're doing it to watch your phone, because that's what the mirror's for. No, you're doing it so you want people to compliment you, as opposed to letting your body doing all the talking for you. No, you got to let people know, I picked this up. Now tell me how awesome it is. You know, idiots. It's just the self-indulgence bullshit people do.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, I get it, because it's nice that they want to attempt to put something out there that makes them feel good about themselves in a way, and I think it goes too far now, because people just want that instant gratification from social media.
That's what I'm saying. Like, as opposed to putting the work, and then someone walks up to you and says, "You've been working out? God, you look fantastic." It's like that will do more for you than a bunch of compliments from people you don't even know, who just happen to scroll across and see you pick up a weight and drop it on the ground, or and just like, okay, you picked it up, but you know what? You shouldn't have to do anything like that. You should be able to walk to the grocery store, to the gym, to work, wherever, and people just see, like, oh my God, that guy works out. Your body does all the talk. You don't have to brag, say anything. Your effort already does everything for you. And there's nothing like a total stranger or someone you know wants to compliment on how you look, or that all the effort you put in that you weren't bragging about. You're like, hey, look at this, look at me.
Yeah.
You know, they just stopped you and wanted to let you know, I really admire all the hard work you've been putting in. Your arms look great. Your chest looks awesome. Your waist is slimmed down. Whatever the case may be, you know, it means so much more.
It's like that time in Walmart. I was there to watch that in person.
Yeah. And I'm like, I would much rather have had anybody on this planet but Nathan see me during that. God.
Crom's Mountain. Speaking of crap characters, I have a Mighty Spectre still in the box for sale. If you want him, I'll pass. But hey,
how about you? I would encourage you to throw it in a fire and then piss on the ashes.
My buddy, I paint all my Origins so they either look like classics or color corrected to look like vintage. I love my Origins, but I do wish they were not so bright. Yeah, that's kind of
they're bright. The face sculpts lack detail. They're not menacing looking. They look like play school toys.
Some of them just smile way too big.
They just. I think about how Clawful looks like a really bad Muppet. It's like, dude, you have got one of the most badass villains. You make him look. He couldn't look more pussified.
It seems like for some reason too, because of the articulation, it makes the body somehow look
disproportionate.
Off. Yeah, it's very disproportionate.
I think about how Jitsu looked very disproportionate. That's another bad thing about this line. There's no quality control. It's just put it out there. They'll buy it because, you know, it's He-Man. It's here right now. I got to buy it right now. You know, how about we put a little care and creativity, as opposed to hiring people who have no idea how to write a story or how to illustrate He-Man. You know, at least Axel's still working on the line, you know.
Yeah, true.
So,
Febmon, how about a New Adventures versus Demolition Man toy line comparison? Who did it better? Are there a lot of crossovers between the two? I didn't think it was that much.
It's just, I mean, it's the He-Man figure is John Spartan. The Visor figure is Simon Phoenix, and it just repaints.
Yeah,
you know,
but there's not a lot there.
No, it's a small line. Yeah, there's not a lot to it.
It's probably something we could do as like a mini, like, let's pop this up and discuss it before we get to before we get to the main.
Not a full episode. No, I couldn't devote a full episode to that.
We got a vinyl wrap Tyler's car, so that's Battle Cat theme. So when you're in your car, you're He-Man and the car is Battle Cat.
I thought about doing some sort of like license plate, like calling it Stridor or Land Shark or something like that. But
do it.
I just never got around to doing it. But that's
you should
what
do
I thought about.
That's not a bad idea. You should. Yeah. Check for its availability and then make it happen.
Or like Battle Ram would be cool too. You know.
Yeah. That would be good.
It would be awesome. Roton. I just feel like I feel like there'd be a lot that I could probably get away with in this state, but knowing it costs money for those vanity plates. That's what's kept me from doing it. You know.
Yeah, you got to pay it's like a fee like every year, right?
Yeah, I mean, because Erica like tells me how much she has. Like, you know what? I don't want to do that. I'm good with just my generic license plate. But it would be cool to have something like that, yeah.
Same. I actually, last week, it arrived in the mail today. I got my new license. I haven't looked at it yet because I got to go pick it up at my parents, but I can't wait to see what that photo looks like, because they're like, you can smile if you want. I'm pretty sure I'm like this. So that,
you just ignore them, just keep staring. Like,
I honestly, I probably should have done just dead stare. All right. Well, we will go ahead and call this an episode. I had fun. I hope all of you out there that watched this had a lot of fun. If you haven't done so already, like this episode, comment down below, subscribe, and ring that bell, because if you want to join the live chat, ask us questions during the show, ring the bell so you get notified, because like I said earlier, Saturday, Sunday, one of those days is going to be a landing spot. That's probably going to fluctuate as well, depending on what we both have going on during that weekend. But until later, let the power return.
Hey, you know what they say is true. Senior citizens, although slow and dangerous behind the wheel, can still serve a purpose.
Got robbed by an old lady in a motorized cart.
Didn't even see it coming.
What is
the booze?
Rhode Island slut? It was the Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
I gotta look it up now, because I really like that where the wallet gets stuck in there and he's just like looking at it, but it says Rhode Island
he's
slut.
Just like, hey, just get the essentials. Hey, what do I look like? That big ass sombrero, a paddle ball.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna get Rhode Island slut.
Oh man, that shirt is on Etsy. I gotta get that.
Huh? What shirt?
It says Rhode Island slut.
Oh,
I gotta get that.
Awesome.
This is a very shitty screen grab.
You put that on and listen to just a little butt crack is all I could see.
Oh yeah. No, it's 2 foot of butt crack.
Oh, 2 foot of butt crack. I thought it was just oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 foot of butt crack. Was
is
all
all
I could see. There you go.
Yeah, Rhode Island slut. Like that's like a regular newspaper stand, like the dispenser with that on there.
Oh wait. I go to click on the Etsy link and it's not there.
It's not there.
Oh man, do they not sell them on Etsy? Well, that sucks. But yeah, Dumb and Dumber is the quote.
Which I'm glad I had another one in mind. Like, you know what? I'll switch up and go with this one instead. So I'm glad I did. Let me throw this other one out in case you're like, sir, did we get to win this time? This time it's up to you. That was going to be the one I was initially going to go with, and I pulled an audible and switched there. So
I'm kind of glad you went with that one, because I'm sitting there. It's like now I'm like blanking on this one. I know I shouldn't, because it's very familiar to me.
Oh, we covered this many years ago on Beyond Retro.
First Rambo 2.
You got it, man. So you're 2 for 2, man.
Yeah, just like flowed back. I was like, put it on together. But yes, thanks for all the wonderful questions, especially my buddy's customs. Thanks for setting all those
absolutely. Yeah, thanks to all our listeners. That was more questions than I could have expected, and they were all good questions. So I really appreciate that to everybody, man.
Yeah. We will we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.
Take care, everyone.
Fox, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass to this! You and what army?
Shut up and let's go. Come on.